So I welcome. Glad you guys are here. I thought I'd start today by having each of you share who you are and a little bit about. So first of all, let me introduce Sanjay and Aditi. They both qualified to be finalists in the Genspiration Prize put on by the National Association of Inventors. They qualified through the US National Innovator Challenge, and so I thought it'd be a really cool thing today to talk together, hear a little bit more about your journey and a little bit more about what you're doing. So first, would you introduce yourself and in your own words, tell me a little bit about what problem you solved that brought you here today. So Sanjay, why don't we start with you?
Hi, my name is Sanjay Vinothkumar. I'm currently in seventh grade, and the reason I'm here is because I solved how people like when they walk tippy toes, they really fall a lot. So I've figured out a solution to make them walk like normally and flat-footed.
Thank you. Fantastic. How about you, Aditi?
Hi, my name's Aditi. I am currently a freshman in college. So I took part in NIC back in 2023 when I was a high school junior. And sorry, my throat's been a little weird.
That
But
kind of day today.
yes, 100%. And my project was the SFSA, a smart fluidic servo actuator on a prosthetic ankle that I call the like PAL. And the idea was basically finding alternative ways of actuating prosthetic joints so that we can combat issues related to price and battery efficiency with prosthetics in order to improve quality of life for prosthetic users overall.
That's wonderful. So with each of you, what and we'll just keep doing the same order, have Sanjay answer and then Aditi. But with each of you, what was it that inspired you to choose this particular problem?
So it was actually my brother that actually made me inspire. Cause like when I was young, my brother like really loved sports, and I remember my dad kept on saying that it was such a shame that my brother had like palsy, cause he really loved soccer and he couldn't play it that well because of his palsy. So I tried to like make a solution to like help him walk like flat foot. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Observing the world around you and your family members is a great first step in figuring out something you want to tackle. Absolutely. How about you, Aditi?
So I always like, well, the real story is in middle school, I watched a show called Voltron on Netflix, and um, I've always had a love-hate relationship with sci-fi because sometimes it's over the top, but other times it's really cool, the technology they have. And Voltron was one of the latter situations where it was really cool. There was a character that had a prosthetic arm that was really high tech, but also in a believable sense. And so that just kind of got me thinking, what's the gap between like this idealized version and what we have right now? Because there's been so many instances of what we consider sci-fi becoming reality. What's stopping us here? And that got the ball rolling.
One of the I've worked with a couple of different innovation and invention programs, and one of my favorite categories is always that Jules Verne, like we don't have the ways to be able to do it yet, but how can we imagine the world as a different place, and how do we bridge the gap? Absolutely. Um, so tell me what were you feeling when you got notified that you were a Genspiration finalist and you get to go and participate in this? How did that make you feel? What was your reaction?
So at first, when like I got like invited to do the competition, I thought it was like one of like a normal competitions, like how like my global invention convention was like. But then after like I got into like the finals, I just started researching about it, and I realized it was like a really big thing.
Absolutely. And how did that make you feel?
It made me feel like I was like really important because like at first it was like out of like there were like 3 people selected in my grade for like the entire world, and then out of that, I got in as a finalist. So that made me feel really like important and intelligent.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. How about you, Aditi?
I was really excited. I saw the email notification. I'm like, ooh. The little blurb at the top, and I'm like, yes. I really like talking about my project, and even though I started it in high school, I do want to expand on it, work on it more in college, because I do think that this is not something that should just be a high school science project, right? So having this avenue, like now especially, is a really good way of me keeping that momentum going.
Mhm.
So I'm excited about all the opportunities, all the people I'll meet.
So that leads me to my next question is, what was something that you've learned from this whole journey, from when you very first started, came up with that idea, said, I want to participate in my school's program or at home or whichever program you started, when you first had that idea all the way till now, what's something that you've learned that you think you're going to carry with you from here on out?
I was thinking that problems can come unexpectedly in different ways. Because like at first, like when I was like doing this, I started this back in like 5th grade. I had my first prototype ready, but but then after that, it was like I had like problems with like doing with like mentally and like with physically, because like my first prototype, it was like outside of the shoe, and it could get damaged by the weather, but also people could have gotten bullied by a lot, and that could lead to depression as well.
Absolutely. Aditi, what was
Oh, yeah.
something that you've learned in this journey?
So for me, I guess the biggest part is you always need people who believe in you, because there's going to be a lot of points of frustration, and you're your harshest critic. And so, yes, 100%. You're always going to think things are worse when you've done them versus when
Mhm.
other people reassure you. And so, channels like NIC help with that, right? Building up that confidence, but also getting to talk to people, get your ideas flowing. And then while you're working up to something you can present at a place like NIC, you still need, friends, family, teachers who are like, yeah, we see the vision. Don't worry, keep going. So
We see where you're going. This is a good thing. So, on that same vein, then, if you could be that person cheering on the next group of kids, next year's inventors, what would you tell somebody who's just starting out on this journey? What advice would you give them based on your experience?
I would tell them to like don't give up, even if like people start like shaming your project or like you just lost in the big competition. Cause like at first I was like getting up and I got to like the the semifinals, but then after like a little demotivation, I like kind of lost. And then but then after that I came back, and then I got 11 to 12 awards at global. So yeah. So
Congratulations.
just don't give up.
It's good advice. What advice would you give, Aditi?
I agree with that. Don't give up. But also every idea is worth pursuing, right?
Mm.
Even if it's like a rough sketch or like something you type up in your notes app, like it's always worth going back to. There's no such thing as a useless idea. And so, yeah, it's my favorite quote from a book is from The Little Prince specifically is, it's the time you wasted on your rose that makes it so special. It might seem frivolous, or it might seem very not worth it to others, but the fact that you put that effort in and you've tried to do changes on a local level, on a personal level, on a global level, whatever, like that's enough. You're never going to get everyone's support, but that effort is what makes the difference.
Absolutely. I love that quote.
I love that
So
book.
Oh yeah, I
And Little
agree.
Prince, yeah.
So one last question before we run out of time. Without giving away any design secrets or intellectual property pieces, what is the part of your particular design and or obstacle that you overcame that you are personally most proud of yourself for?
I think it was like it just didn't matter. Like, even if you think that your prototype right now is like good, still try to like think of ways to like improve it more. Because the more like you improve on your project, the more guaranteed it would be in successing.
So you're proud of yourself for
Yeah.
continuing to improve in that part of it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
Uh,
even though my second prototype was like at its like real good and like best, after I added in like the tracker, it became really good.
That's fantastic. How about you, Aditi?
I think there are a lot of like technical things, right, that you have to overcome. You have to be like, okay, I gotta learn this. Uh, it's the whole thing of like, I have this idea, but I don't have the skill to do it yet. You just gotta bite the bullet, get the skill. Don't let that be a reason you stop. But also, on a more overall like, sense of reflection, I'd say that like I also did a lot of competitions in high school, and sometimes they don't end up going the way you want. And so this goes back to the support thing I mentioned, where like, especially at those times where like, do people see what I'm doing? Do people understand? Because you know, right? I know what I'm doing and like what impact it could have. Are there people who are able to understand that? Because you can't do everything by yourself. So you just kind of have to be self-aware in that moment. And I think that's something I learned.
I like that. That's a really Deepal, did you have something you wanted to add to that?
No, I'm just like I- I'm I'm amazed how these guys are able to knock the barriers out. And I'm sure so many other young people like you guys, how you started, are going through the same path, same struggles, and you giving these your own experience, you sharing your own experience. I'm sure that serves as an encouragement. It inspires them to do and continue. As Sanjay said, don't stop, continue. Even, and then I like what you said, Aditi. There is no useless idea. Go back to those scratch, those brainstorming pages. Go back, and something will come out of it. And I believe that, because I think there is no coincidence. So if that came to your mind and you wrote it down, it's going to come to you, it will be helpful to you down the road.
Yeah, I think I
Very,
could.
very, yeah, very good advice for newcomers. And you guys keep up.
Yeah, I think
You.
I could.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you both for joining us today. I really appreciated hearing from you and hearing your pieces. I know we've got to keep moving on. There's so many good things here, but I very much appreciate hearing your guys' take on this and look forward to seeing where you go, both in university and with the new inventions and all sorts of things. So well done. Absolutely. And thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you for having us. We'll
Thank you.
we'll
Absolutely.
see in June what happens. But
Sounds
Um,
good. We're looking forward to seeing the results.
yes.
yeah.
And thank you for the opportunity.
Yep.
Our
Thank you
pleasure.
for the
That's
opportunity.
one of the things we like to be able to do is find as many opportunities to be able to make you feel seen, to be able to make you feel that supported. That's the goal. So
Yeah. Also, may I like add something else for like try to like make for like advice for like for patents?
absolutely.
Because like patents are like a really, really important thing. And even though it might take like 2 to 3 years, like it would still be like a really important thing because it like protects your invention from like getting plagiarized. And that's what I did.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I did right now. And it's currently published, but it's still not approved yet.
Okay. So it's pending.
Yeah.
Here's we'll get there. So well done. We've got to keep moving on to the next one. So thank you guys very much. and we'll see you all soon.